Peace and welcome to World War Wrestling. It is January 31st, 2024, and I have just watched the Royal Rumble. Oh, Jolly Boy G. Mraz, whatever the white folks be saying. How did I feel about the Royal Rumble? I don't know. I was originally going to compare this to the New Japan. I did not charge my phone. I need my phone actually, so I'm gonna banter for a little bit until my phone recharges because I do actually need it. I was initially going to compare the Royal Rumble to New Japan Pro Wrestling's Battle in the Valley, but I'm feeling like New Japan has to be its own thing because I haven't watched New Japan Pro Wrestling since Chris Jericho was a main eventer there. So I don't want to say it's too long ago and insult Chris Jericho. That's a pretty fucking long time ago. It's a pretty goddamn long time ago. So I feel like once I saw that Battle of the Valley, it was 4 hours long. I was like, damn, man, like 4 fucking hours of watching some motherfuckers I don't even know. I might know some people, but I don't. It felt like I was going to a party that I was invited to, but only because they wanted as many people there as possible. They didn't care who came. And once you get there, you don't fucking know anybody, and you gotta have this whole extroverted experience and be on the edge of your seat for everyone that wrestles. It's like you're either forced to be a mark and just be like, oh, even though it's like the same shit that everyone else does, but it's just Japanese people who like really, 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 really like white people to the point that a lot of these talents that I don't want to say a lot because New Japan Pro Wrestling's produced like amazing talent. I'm not gonna like shit on New Japan Pro Wrestling or insult New Japan Pro Wrestling. That's not my intention here. This isn't like a Japanese thing. It's Black History Month, so I'm sorry. You know, Uncle Daryl's got to put you over his knee and tell you the truth for a little bit, real quick. But colorism is a thing everywhere. You know, people being oppressed for the basis of their color. This is a global issue because there's only 4 countries that have not been taken over by either the United States of America or the United Nations or some European country. There's only 4. And one was created to get rid of black people. Liberia was created to get rid of black people. And the rest are like North Korea and places that have been recently bombed. So I didn't create the world. I'm just living in it. So if it's called World War Wrestling, I think I already gave you my predictions of my political ideologies of the near future for our glorious, wonderful, God-fearing nation. I just feel like New Japan Pro Wrestling is like really over for white guys. And a lot of these guys that come from New Japan Pro Wrestling to America, they don't really get the same type of like prowess. I mean, I feel like if Kenny Omega did not come in as the owner of the company and he had to work himself up like everybody else in the AEW roster, I feel like Kenny Omega was struggling to get over because when he was associating himself with Don Callis, he was over. Whenever he's with the Young Bucks, he's a mid carder. So I don't know, something's got to give there. I say this to say if Kenny Omega is your idea of a great, like, just like the image of a professional wrestler, Jesus fucking Christ, phone. Like, God. It's like, I feel like I should almost like turn this off and like re record it, but it's, it's only 5 minutes, man. If like you're watching this, then you're watching this obviously to some degree because you either like pro wrestling or you actually genuinely like my perspectives of PW content. And I appreciate that. I think I'm just gonna go ahead with the Royal Rumble. And then once my phone charges, I actually wanted to do Battle of the Belts. 'Cause if I'm not mistaken, I do not believe that AEW has had another pay per view since whatever their last pay per view is. Okay, Battle of the Belts. No, I'm sorry. Royal Rumble. It would have been the Battle of the Belts if I was prepared. It's 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:04, and I've literally just finished watching the Royal Rumble. So if I was not going to record it now, judging by how difficult it's been to record all 20 of these other videos or 22, 20, I didn't expect this to be a thing the way that it is. And it's still not. Like, God, thank God for the people that are watching. I really appreciate it. You're really making my self esteem like jump through the roof. I was gonna be self confident without you though. You know, I'm not a heel, but I'm not a baby face either. I'm just great man. I'm just right there in the middle. The women's Royal Rumble match was more exciting than the men's Royal Rumble match because the women seemed like they were having more fun. It seemed like the women's Royal Rumble match seemed like a bunch of friends getting to see each other again after a long period of time. And like when all said was done, no matter what happened in the ring, they were gonna go and party afterwards and have a great fucking time. Everything about it, just even the women that you didn't expect that usually don't get over, every woman got a chance to get over, to get their spots in, to get their shots in. Um, the men's Royal Rumble match was not like that, you know. The men's Royal Rumble match was like a mosh pit. It was just, it gave me this kind of weird insight into professional wrestling that almost seems a little like kind of like way too meta to realize, but like it's also like weird to me that whole thing's scripted, right? Can you imagine how deep into character you have to be to tell yourself that you have an opportunity to win a scripted competition and still believe you have an opportunity to win when you know beforehand that you're not winning? And it's kind of a mind fuck because that's why a lot of people don't like professional wrestling. But notice how I said how deep into character you have to be. Do you know how big of a mark you have to be for yourself to believe that you have an opportunity to win the Royal Rumble? It has always been one of my least favorite pay per views because it's like the suspension of disbelief just is not there. And when it's all said and done, it really did just come down to four guys that were better off having a fatal four-way match, which you kind of got a taste of that too. You got taste of, as it goes down. I don't know. This it's not like I disliked it. My phone did come on, so I do have something to compare it to now mentally. And I'm not sure if it's going to be a fair comparison because the other side of this, nope, it went out again. We're just gonna focus on this then. Is I just simply don't believe. I don't think that what WWE is doing is actual like gender sexual equality. You know, it's like as a parent, instead of really like kind of delving into the issues and trying to figure out why your kids are upset, what's really going on when they're bothered by when they can share any other time, but now they're bothered by, he's playing with my toy and that kind of thing. And I think that was kind of how most sports leagues decided to deal with women athletes or black athletes was, oh, well, they're doing their thing, so you can have your thing too. But it doesn't allow for like the ability for things to be uniquely different or be taken in the same kind of serious way. I feel like if not this isn't the year, obviously, maybe not next year, but maybe the year after that, he could probably have a Royal Rumble with just the women. And I know that would probably upset some of the men athletes, but you could do the type of thing where you have a Royal Rumble on SmackDown, or you have a Royal Rumble on Raw for the men or for the women, and then on the actual, and you make it a big deal, like I don't usually, I do understand to some degree why a lot of the send off shows are mid, you know? You want people to rest up. You don't want people to get hurt right before a big event. You don't want any freak accidents to happen. But you got a lot of fucking talent, and you could still have a pretty big show for like talent that you're not really gonna see. Like you have the pre-show, but you gotta be really dedicated. You have to be very dedicated to watch the pre-show. And maybe I need to skip that first hour of New Japan. Maybe that's a pre-show too, and I just can't understand the language. They have like an American commentary too, but I still don't know what the fuck's going on in New Japan Pro Wrestling, to be honest with you. I would love to know. I would love to find out. I would love to understand it. We're not going to get the Battle of the Belts in here. We're just going to do the Royal Rumble, and I'm going to go do something else, is what we're going to do. I'll do the Battle of the Belts on its own, maybe. Or maybe not at all, because it's kind of like, I think it's almost before I started all this. I don't know if Punk is really injured. He might be. He may not be. My whole theory here of like being a huge mark for yourself was that a huge part of CM Punk coming back to the WWE and the only match you really have any interest in seeing is CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. That's it. And you were gonna get that, but you're not though. Because Seth Rollins is on a completely different level than CM Punk in every single way. And if they had never ran across each other, it's kind of like it's like Rocky Balboa, maybe. But Rocky's like an old guy and he's fighting like the young dude, and he has to like completely change his style to like adapt to fighting like a younger, faster, stronger, better in every single type of way opponent while using the things that he's completely known for, but not being able to utilize any of them because he's fragile now. It's really a great story, you know? I just, I don't know how to feel about CM Punk. If he's really injured, then I take back what I'm going to say. I don't feel like he's overrated. I feel like he's a mark for himself. Like, there's no bigger CM Punk mark than CM Punk. And I think that's how you have to be in the WWE. I think that's how you have to be in professional wrestling. Is that you have to be your biggest mark. And Seth Rollins was injured. That match isn't gonna happen. Why the fuck would he wrestle if he can get paid to sit at home and do fucking nothing? To do the shit he was already doing when he wasn't fucking wrestling. You know, I don't know if he genuinely wants to continue being a professional wrestler or if, kind of like Jeff Hardy in the same way. I feel like Jeff Hardy and CM Punk are addicted to the same drug. You know, I feel like they're addicted to the audience, they're addicted to the attention, they're addicted to, you know, the opportunity of being bigger than who you are rather than truly having the humility, you know. I think he put on a great sell tonight. I think CM Punk is a great salesman, but it's just really tragic that when we should have been seeing the greatest years of his life and the greatest years of his career, there was no TNA. Impact is great, but it's not TNA. And there was no Global Force. Well, I guess there was, but I gotta take that back. I gotta apologize to CM Punk. No one's a bigger mark for themselves than Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett is the biggest freaking mark for himself ever. I don't know. I feel like Punk and Rollins is still. I feel like they're literally just postponing Punk and Rollins so that CM Punk can get in better shape, and so that you know Seth Rollins can recover, and maybe the difference between Apex Predator Seth Rollins and becoming slightly atrophied Seth Rollins, who may or may not still be the champion, I don't know, and CM Punk in a non title blood feud to the death, winner takes all, they're both probably going to get injured anyway because they're both like older on in life. It feels so weird to say. It feels so weird to say about either of them, but they are both like way older than I am. I respect my elders, but they're both like they've committed a lot of time off the screen to be on the screen. And it's just a shame that it takes so long for people to like get discovered, get over. And for a lot of these guys, it's like some guys have been in the WWE so long, it's almost like they have Stockholm syndrome, you know? I can't imagine like psychologically the toll it takes on you to be like a mid card on WWE. You know, I would say that AEW is a mid card show. That the main event may or may not be a hit or miss because you have like a jobber versus a jobber. In any other company, they would be a jobber, but in AEW, they have an actual opportunity to get, if the fans like them, to get over, you know, as it should be. So the mid card is stacked. It's like Ring of Honor. Like Ring of Honor is stacked. Like the card is stacked. It gives a lot of people a chance. It gives a lot of people an opportunity. WWE ain't like that, man. And it's just kind of a shame for a lot of these guys. I mean, I guess they get their spots in, but it's like when they get squashed, they get squashed. Because you're not putting down someone's daughter, you're putting down a grown ass man. And for you to retain your credibility and for this guy to seem larger than life, you got to get crushed, pulverized, pummeled. You know, and that brings me to Roman Reigns versus the mid card. You know, that's the faction that I call LA Knight, Randy Orton, and AJ Styles. That's my faction for them is the mid card because that's where they are. That's where they need to be. They need to be going for the Intercontinental Champion. Y'all need to be looking. They don't want to fight Apex Predator Seth Rollins. They didn't want that. Randy Orton didn't want a match with Seth Rollins. Broken back and all. You know, Seth Rollins is like EC3 in the olden days of Impact. Roman Reigns sells and sells and sells and sells and sells and sells and sells so that it looks like he got absolutely demolished. And then when he makes a comeback, it seems as if he's coming back from like these Herculean heights. But the entire time he was just being a fucking pussy the whole fucking time and over fucking exaggerating everything and acting like they were really fucking hurting him, which has to be kind of like one kind of psychologically fulfilling, but also like fuck with you mentally, because it's like at the end of the day he's like, nah, it wasn't even like that. It wasn't even that hard, and you gotta live with that. You gotta live with that forever. You know, it's just the Roman Reigns handicap match that I watched with the dysfunctional. I don't know why this trios tag team. Like it's like the trios tag team, the mid card, was having a tornado tag match against each other. It's like sibling rivalries, man. Like it's hard keeping a trios team together. But you know, the mid card really needs to get itself together and just kind of form the plot, except that only one of them is going to be a champion in 2024. And maybe the mid card, you know, honestly, the mid card could be the new Blackpool Combat Club. And they could be the Blackpool Combat Club of Raw. I would watch that because that's where they belong now. 10 o'clock p.m. You get to watch the mid card, and the mid card versus any like you know the beautiful thing about the mid card, you know Randy Orton, L.A. Knight, and AJ Styles. The beautiful thing about the mid card team is that they could be a tag team, they could be a trios. You know they could fight one by one. Obviously, they could do jumpings. They could obviously do 3v1s. You know, they could fight. The mid card could fight Omos next. You know, the mid card could fight Bobby Lashley, and then Montez and you know Angelo Dawkins can cheer on the outside, take a few bumps, Bobby Lashley catches breath, and then Bobby Lashley goes back out there and handles business, man. But the mid card just, oh my god, like I just Randy Orton and LA Knight, I just can't accept the fact other than they would not have gotten over anywhere else. I don't think Randy Orton gets over outside of WWE. I feel like as soon as Randy Orton leaves WWE, there are so many guys that have been jealous of him and envious him for. I've always been a Randy Orton fan. So when I call him the mid card, I call him that affectionately. You need a strong mid card. And it's just that time of the year. It's just that time in your life. You're not. Chris Jericho accepted that. He's the mid card. Like he's accepted that. And it's like sometimes he gets to the main event, he's still Chris Jericho, but Chris Jericho has accepted that you're not 20 anymore, you're not 30 anymore. You got to wrestle differently. And it's like the issue I have with AJ Styles is that he had the match won, but it's like they nullify AJ Styles every step of the way because and honestly, you could say that TNA was falling apart without AJ Styles. You could say that, like CM Punk, AJ Styles had to leave in order to get his due. But WWE has completely misused AJ Styles the entire freaking time that AJ Styles has been in the WWE. And it's like they wanted this New Japan AJ Styles mixed with a little bit of the TNA AJ Styles, and then they had their own idea. He has a really amazing theme song, but it's like the way that I see Seth Rollins as the apex predator. That's AJ Styles actually. AJ Styles has tapped Randy Orton out, and I believe he's injured Randy Orton before, if I'm correct, with the cattle mutilator. You know, but AJ Styles looking like a shark took a bite out of his leg. I mean, Randy Orton looking like someone took a bite out of his calf. You know, LA Knight. I feel like AJ Styles and LA Knight are being punished because they can't be trusted. Like Josh Alexander is my perfect example of that. Of someone who just battened down the hatches, stayed true to what he believed in, and stayed the course, and now he's the ace of TNA. And I relate to it deeply because I relate a lot to AJ Styles. I relate a lot to LA Knight, where you're working for a business and you feel like they're not giving you your due. You're not playing in front of a big enough audience. You feel like you're not making enough money, but you're not accepting the fact, on the other hand, if you ever owned a business or like left the idea of being a wage slave to just be free and poor and work for yourself, I guess. I guess that's what people are calling it. You go from being a broke college student to being a poor self-employed person. And, you know, it's just not enough money in the bank, you know? It's like I'd love to pay you $50 an hour, $100 an hour. I'd love to pay you $1 million. I'd love to pay you $1 billion, honestly. I think sometimes we have a perspective of our labor not being appreciated, when in reality, it's like there's no possible way to ever show gratitude for what was done. You couldn't put a dollar sign on it. You couldn't fucking like Scott Demore couldn't even offer you a fucking hand job in the fucking bathroom to show you how grateful he was for, for whatever the fuck you've done. And I'm not saying that to disrespect Scotty. I'm just saying like There's nothing that I don't. I feel like Scott Demore would love nothing more than to have Petey Williams and AJ Styles back inside of TNA wrestling, especially under TNA. I feel like Scott Demore would love nothing more than to have Kenny Omega as a full timer, or CM Punk as a full timer, or even as a part timer on TNA. But you have no way to show people reciprocity for what you want them to do. But I also feel like vice versa. You think of a John Cena, even if you were to now, I would say The Rock, not John Cena. I would say The Rock, not John Cena. Even if you were to now put a title belt on The Rock, it doesn't have to be a year long reign. It don't got to be a multiple time. I think we're at the point where the belt needs to change hands a few times. There needs to be, you know, I'm the best. No, I'm the best. No, I'm the best. No, I'm really the best. And then this guy's like, nah, came back, I got better. People need to go back into the dojo. People need to go back into the lab. People need to come up with some new moves, innovate some new stuff, come up with some new finishers. It's like watching a presidential or watching a political election where people are just like obsessed with being reelected that they don't even care about the quality of work that they do anymore. It's like some of us get so obsessed with trying to become rich, trying to become famous, trying to become like wealthy, trying to like clout chase, try to like flex on other people that we become marks for ourselves and we forget that we're not as good as we think we are. And it's good to stay in a very humble type of space where you're still growing, like a Josh Alexander, like a Will Ospreay, like an Alexander Hammerstone. I would even extend it and say like an MJF. I would say those are my four pillars of modern day professional wrestling. I couldn't repeat that list, but I'm pretty sure over the course of the year, whenever you hear me talk about those four guys, I'm going to be talking about them up here, you know? And it's amazing because two of those guys actually came from MLW, so it says a lot about MLW as a promotion. I think I need to like take some time to get into New Japan and get into MLW because it's this is like a full time job, honestly. So please check out my books at bit.ly, bit.ly/ Daryl Omar Books, DARYLOMARBOOKS, and buy some books at full price and have them delivered to your home. If you want, you can comment below books, like, the actual thing that you read. And I'll figure a way out to contact you and send you books or something. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe just buy them from Amazon. I don't want to run back and forth to the post office for an extra $5. Amazon can have $5 to manage shipping the books to you. It's okay. You know, for now. If I find out that Jeffrey Epstein is on that list, I'm sorry, that Jeff Bezos. Well, that was a Freudian slip if I've ever heard one. If I find out that Jeff Bezos is on that Jeffrey Epstein's list, then I might reconsider using Amazon as a platform. But for now, we're doing what we're doing. If I find out that Jeff Bezos is on Jeffrey Epstein's list, though, making my own KDP and Amazon books, I'm not like he's done. If he's on Jeffrey Epstein's list, then I'm gonna become God's holy fucking soldier to end Amazon. Because no, Logan Paul versus Kevin Owens, and then I'm done. This was a rookie ass match from Kevin Owens. This was a sad ass, slap ass performance. Such a fucking bullshit rookie move. Oh my God. I don't even care that it's a scripted performance and Logan Paul needs the money to pay back all his lawsuits and Kevin Owens is old. So that's the excuse, and his kids like it. So he wanted to do something for his kids. Oh, watch Logan Paul beat up daddy. Ha ha ha, it's all fake. Uh, no, this was a damaging thing for Kevin Owens because he needed this title win. You don't know how many years of Kevin Owens you got left. If Seth Rollins is facing a career-ending injury in his back, I know that Kevin Owens' body hurts. I know like carrying that extra weight on you makes your body hurt. Either Kevin Owens needs to finally get in the gym and lean up and actually take his health seriously. He's like Kevin Owens reminds me of Eddie Kingston, and like you are a fat piece of shit and you don't want to be called out for being fat because you want to call it body shaming, but you also want to take pride in being fat. It's like you want to sin, but you don't want to hear that it's sin. You know, you're gluttonous. You're a little piggy. You need to lose some fucking. Can you imagine if Kevin Owens was jacked? Can you imagine if Kevin Owens had a six pack? You know, you remember like the blue meanie, and the blue meanie leaned up and he became like a freaking fitness model for a little point in time. You know, he like swerved back and forth, but he wasn't like a fat piece of shit anymore. You know, and from one fat piece of shit to another, you know, I know that we look in the mirror and we're like, man, we're not that fat. Man, we don't look that bad. You know, but we don't look that good either, and we don't look the best that we can look. Kevin Owens, like, you can't just do DDP yoga. You got to lift some weights, man. Like, you've been hanging out with Sami Zayn too long, and I think it's probably like a Canadian thing because if Kevin Owens was a Westerner, Kev Owens would be like freaking what's the guy's name? Luke Cage? No, Nick Cage. Is it Nick Cage? Who's the guy who keeps putting people over even though he looks like fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime? Brian Cage. You know, Brian Cage. You know, what the fuck are you? Brian Cage should have been in this men's Royal Rumble. I don't know. I don't get it, man. I don't understand professional wrestling. It's like the guys that I feel that should be on the top of the mountain in WWE aren't there simply because they're not going to be easy to control and manipulate. But rather than just give people more creative freedom, you shame people for not liking your creative vision. But at the same time, you don't want to like create a better creative vision so that other people can actually partake and enjoy in it, you know? I don't really like get that because as I'm doing this, I'm trying to like make it interesting at least or like palatable. I don't know if you want to listen to someone talk about professional wrestling for 40 fucking minutes, but you're probably the same people who watch Jim Cornette talk about the shit, you know? The fuck? I feel like this made Logan Paul look really credible. I feel like Kevin Owens still got over, but as a Kevin Owens fan, I always get very upset and I take it very personal when Kevin Owens allows himself to lose because he's Canadian and I feel like he's too nice of a guy and he keeps giving his spots to other people. He's like Kofi Kingston and they want to be likable more than they want to be successful. And you know, maybe that's the real way to do it in the business. Maybe you feel better that way. I heard Shawn Michaels say he feels better giving back to people than taking. You know, Shawn Michaels could very easily make a return and just manage people. He doesn't even have to wrestle. He can literally just get on the apron and with people, hit a super kick on the outside or something. He would literally make someone a champion just because on the outside you have to wrestle prime Shawn Michaels for 5 seconds. You know, he may not be prime Shawn Michaels for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, but he can be prime Shawn Michaels for 5 minutes. And that's it. That's all he's got in him. He could rest for a week. He could rest for a month or so until the next pay per view, and they'd be prime Shawn Michaels for 3 minutes. And people would still buy tickets just to see Shawn Michaels on the apron. But he doesn't. He gives back. He doesn't put himself in the center of anything. He doesn't try to make himself the center of attention. He just he gives it all to God. So glory to God. I stand by everything that I said. If I did offend anybody, hey, this was World War Wrestling.